Behavioral economics uses both economics and psychology to try to figure out why and how people act the way they do in the real world. It is different from neoclassical economics, which believes that most people have clear preferences and act in their own best interests when making decisions. Behavioral economics looks at the differences between what people should do and what they actually do, as well as the results of those actions. The area was shaped by the work of Nobel laureate and University of Chicago professor Richard Thaler. What is behavioral economics? Behavioral economics is based on real-world observations of how people act. These observations have shown that people don't always make what neoclassical economists call rational or optimal decisions, even when they have all the knowledge and tools they need to do so. For example, why do people often avoid or delay investing in 401ks or exercising, even if they know that doing those things would benefit them? And why do gamblers often bet more after winning or losing, even though the odds don't change no matter what streaks they are on? By asking questions like these and running experiments to find solutions, the field of behavioral economics looks at people as real people who have feelings and act on impulses and are affected by their surroundings and situations. This is different from how people have been viewed in traditional economic models, which have assumed that people are either perfectly self-controlled and never lose sight of their long-term goals, or that they sometimes make chance mistakes that cancel out in the long run. Behavioral economics study has led to a number of principles that have helped economists better understand how people act in the economy. Based on these ideas, governments and companies have made policy frameworks to get people to make certain choices. What are the origins of behavioral economics research, and who are Tversky and Kamen? Since the 1980s, behavioral economics has grown, but it has been around for a long time. Thaler says that Adam Smith, a Scottish economist who lived in the 1700s, had some important ideas in the field. Smith is often known for his idea of an invisible hand that leads an economy to prosperity if everyone acts in their own self-interest. This is a key idea in both classical and neoclassical economics. But he also knew that people often think too highly of themselves, are more afraid of losing than they are of winning, and are more likely to look for short-term gains than long-term ones. These ideas, overconfidence, loss aversion, and self-control, are the building blocks of behavioral economics today. More recently, the work of Israeli scientists Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman on uncertainty and risk is where behavioral economics got its start. In the 1970s and 1980s, Tversky and Kahneman found several consistent biases in the way people make decisions. For example, they found that people often use information that is easy to remember instead of actual data when figuring out how likely something is to happen. This is called the availability heuristic. For example, if someone reads about a shark or bear attack, they might think they are a regular way to die, but they are actually very rare. What is a nudge in behavioral economics? In the field of behavioral economics, a nudge is a way to steer people toward making certain decisions. For example, in a high school cafeteria, putting fruit at eye level or near the cash line is a nudge to get students to choose healthier foods. One important thing about nudges is that they are not forceful. Banning junk food is not a nudge, and punishing people for making poor choices is not a nudge either. One example of a nudge is automatically enrolling workers in 401 plans and asking them to opt out instead of giving them the chance to opt in. This is a way to get people to save more for retirement and save it more consistently. Another bill wants to make organ donation the norm by requiring people to say whether or not they are ready to donate when they apply for a driver's license. Thaler and Sunstein use the word libertarian paternalism to describe a situation that is built around nudges. It is libertarian because people still have choices, but it is paternalistic because it encourages people to do certain things. Thaler said, if you want people to do something, make it easy. Guide to behavioral economics terms. The availability heuristic is the idea that people often use information that is easy to remember instead of real facts when figuring out how likely something is to happen. For example, if someone reads about a shark or bear attack, they might think they are a regular way to die, but they are actually very rare. Bounded rationality is the idea that people have limited cognitive abilities, knowledge, and time, so they don't always make the correct choice from an economist's point of view, even if they have information that would lead them to take a certain action. This could be because they can't make sense of new information quickly, choose to ignore it and go with their gut, or don't have time to fully research all their choices. Bounded self-interest is the idea that people are often ready to choose a less than ideal outcome for themselves if it means they can help others. Giving to charity and volunteering are both examples of limited self-interest. Even though these are normal things to do, they are not taken into account by traditional economic models. These models assume that people act mostly to help themselves and their close family and friends reach their goals, not to help strangers. Bounded willpower is the idea that even if people know what the best choice is, they often still choose what gives them the most short-term benefit instead of making small steps toward a long-term goal. Even if we know that working out may help us reach our health goals, we may keep putting it off by saying, "I'll start tomorrow." Loss aversion is that people are less eager to make gains than they are to avoid losses. For example, it might hurt more to lose a $100 bill than it would to find one. Prospect theory is based on a set of real-world observations that Kahneman and Tversky, 1979, made by asking people how they would react to imagined situations with wins and losses. This gave them a picture of how people act in economic situations. Loss aversion is an important part of prospect theory. Factors that influence behavior. When looking at what makes people act the way they do, 5 reasons are often mentioned. Bounded rationality. People make choices based on what they know, which is the idea behind bounded rationality. Unfortunately, this knowledge is often limited, either because the person doesn't know enough or because there isn't enough information. When it comes to money and investing, everyone has access to the same public information. However, investors may not know what is really going on inside a business. Choice architecture. People are easy to control, and this is often shown in the way that marketers come up with deals or incentives to get people to buy their goods. Think about how a snack display might be set up next to the cheese aisle in a grocery store. This kind of design is meant to lead a customer to make a choice based on a planned show, often between products that go well together. Cognitive bias. Everyone makes choices that are affected by cognitive bias, whether they know it or not. Think about the choice of investing in one of 2 companies. Behavioral economics is based on the idea that the color of a company's logo, the name of the CEO, or the place where each company is based could make us choose the other company for reasons we don't know. Discrimination. In the same way, inequality is often linked to behavioral economics. People see things, events, and other people through their own eyes, and they may treat others unfairly just because they like a different option. This doesn't mean that the other choice is always better, though. Herd mentality. People often make choices based on what other people are doing. Herd mentality is the idea that people make choices based on what other people do, not necessarily on what is best. This could be because people are afraid of missing out or want to be part of a larger group. Even if your best team hasn't won a championship in a while, it's easier to cheer for them if other fans feel the same way. Applications of behavioral economics. Financial markets. Behavioral finance is a field that uses economics to try to figure out why investors make hasty choices when trading on the capital markets. In the same way, poker pros not only study the math and odds of the game, but they also try to take advantage of how crazy other players are. Financial markets are the same way. Game theory. Heuristics can lead to cognitive bias when a wrong choice is made. Behavioral game theory is a new type of game theory that can also be used in behavioral economics. This is because game theory runs studies and looks at how people make irrational decisions. This idea tries to predict consumption results despite illogical behavior. Pricing strategies. Companies are using behavioral economics more and more to sell more of their goods. When the 8 GB iPhone came out in 2007, it cost $600. The price dropped quickly to $400. By putting the phone on the market at a higher price and then lowering it to $400, people thought they were getting a good deal. even though the phone was only worth $400. Product packaging and distribution. Think about a soap maker who makes the same soap but sells it in two different packages to reach more than one group. On one package, the soap is advertised for all soap users, and on the other, it is advertised for people with sensitive skin. If the package didn't say that the soap was for sensitive skin, the second person wouldn't have bought it. Even though the soap in both packages is the same, they choose the one that says it is for sensitive skin. Examples of behavioral economics. Buy one, get one deals may be what Payless Shoes is best known for. When a customer buys one pair of shoes, the price of the second pair is often reduced. Even if a customer doesn't need two pairs of shoes, they may not want to give up a deal. Amazon's lightning deals are an example of loss fear and scarcity. A customer might not want to give up a product they don't know much about. Because these Amazon deals are only available for a short time, a buyer meets the behavioral economics dilemma of buying the product or losing it. The fact that some Starbucks drinks are only available at certain times of the year is another example of a product that people must buy right away or miss out on. Last, if you turn on the TV, you'll see that almost every ad uses framing. Notice how ads or splash pages for cars, like Tesla's website for its Model Y, only talk about the good things about the car. What is the difference between behavioral economics and psychology? Both behavioral economics and psychology are about how people act, how they feel, and how they make decisions. Behavior economics is a much more specialized field that looks at how people make financial decisions, while psychology can study any part of how people think. What is behavioral economics' downside? One bad thing about behavioral economics is that it can be used to trick or control people's decisions. People aren't always logical, but their irrationality may be predicted. Companies can take advantage of this by packaging their products in a certain way, setting the prices of their goods at certain levels, or making their marketing more specific to draw certain markets. Behavioral economics is the study of why people do things with their money that may not make sense. People tend to do things that may not be in their best interest because of cognitive bias, heuristics, bounded rationalities, and the herd mentality. With this knowledge, prices can be set, products can be packaged, commercials can be made, and promotional deals can be made.